rarely this clear, is it? The way they do it. You rarely get it in such a small window, such a short passage of time to segue so effortlessly. And to be fair, I often don't think they realise that they're doing it. From professing concern for the least privileged white children in the country on a Monday, to suggesting that the reason they're going hungry is because all their parents are feckless, workshy layabouts with drug addictions and 60-a-day Rothman habits on a Thursday. It's quite, or a Wednesday, I beg your pardon, because it was, of course, in the House of Commons that we saw callousness in its purest form displayed by most people sitting on the Conservative benches. Just have a little think about this, because it's really important. And this white working class boys fall behind meme is as old as the hills. Let me point out a couple of things to you. Okay. Because you know how this show works. I give you the information you need to make informed decisions. Of course, if I were trying to outrage you or weaponize your ignorance and your lack of understanding, I would today do the show like this. You ready for this? Why is it only English children that aren't being fed when they're hungry? Why is it the English children that aren't being fed? The Welsh children are getting free school meals if they need them over Christmas. Scottish children are. Why is it only the English? Why are the English being left behind? English. That's how I do it, you see, employing some of the tactics of the bad guys to do the work of the angels. So here's how it works. It's quite incredible. When children of colour, well, particularly black children, were performing worst in British schools, it was cultural. It was because their parents didn't value education. It was because they were intrinsically or genetically lazy. It was because they didn't really engage in school, right? When white children fall behind in schools, it's because of systemic discrimination. It's because we're spending too much time looking after this. Funny that, isn't it? And of course, the people who profess concern about white working class children falling behind in school have never got a syllable to say about the fact that white working class children lag so far behind white middle class children, like what I used to be. Why do you think that is? Why would you care passionately about a white working class boy doing worse in school than a black working class boy, and yet be supremely comfortable about white working class children up and down the land doing profoundly worse in school than white middle class children? What could it be, do you think? Why would you care so much about white kids lagging behind black kids, but not care at all about poor white kids lagging behind wealthier white kids? Is there a word you can think of that might describe how the colour of the kid would change your perception of the problem so completely? I don't know. I don't want to put words into your mouth. But we move, of course, from Monday, when we were all told to care deeply about the plight of underprivileged white working class children, to Wednesday, where we were told that if they're hungry, tough, Sodom. It's all the parents' fault. Feckless, workshy lad. Do you see now? I mean, I know sometimes I can be a little bit annoying when I point out uncomfortable truths, just a tiny ickle bit when I point out uncomfortable truths. And nobody likes to look in a mirror if what they see in their reflection is ugly. And nobody likes to have it pointed out that they've been conned. But do you see now? And you won't get a better example, I don't think, in such a short space of time than this week's attitude to underprivileged children. On Monday, they're white and they're losing out to black kids, so we must move heaven and earth to express our support for them. I haven't even mentioned the fact that most of the people claiming to be concerned about these kids lagging behind in school are the same people who routinely put the boot into teachers, to the entire education system, to experts, to students. Funny that, isn't it? That the parents swallowing the most toxic tabloid lies are probably the parents least persuaded that their children should pay attention in school, and the people peddling the most toxic tabloid lies are the same people that turn around when the results of their toxicity have been harvested by an entire generation. They turn around and pretend to care about the children that they have personally kicked in the aspirations in a particularly violent fashion. But we haven't even mentioned that yet. You move in the space of days from pretending to care because black kids are doing better, to inviting people to put the boot into hungry children because their parents are feckless. I watched a couple of these Conservatives, and I have to say, the 29, I don't know whether they still do Rothmans. It was a figure of speech. Stop picking holes in everything I say, for heaven's sake. I watched a couple of this 2019 intake, and what can we say? Very challenging to suggest that if you suffer the horror of having bad parents. And the massive majority of parents do their best, some in very difficult circumstances. But if you're seeking to quiet whatever vague whispers you can still hear your conscience making, then you have to pretend that all parents with hungry children are somehow to blame. But if that were true, who would you prioritise? Children with bad parents or children with good parents? Who needs the most help from our society? For whom should our safety net be knitted? Children lucky enough to have really good parents, many of whom will sometimes struggle with very difficult circumstances. One thinks most obviously of Marcus Rashford's mum. Or should the safety net be there for the children who don't even have the parental protection that some of their peers can rely on? That seems to me to be 21st century conservatism in a nutshell. The people unlucky enough to have poor parenting in their lives are the last people the rest of us should help.